the video about the movies, I said that I hardly watch movies. Yeah, it is, but nonetheless, one of my favorite cinema genre is exactly Western. But somehow it happened that Western games realized an unreasonably small amount. Nonetheless, on PC, with them, question doesn't arise. My personally favorite is Call of Juarez game series, which have ended in the 4-part. However, 3 years ago, in 2018, developers from Techland realized a video where main hero from Call of Juarez Gunslinger appeals to Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption 2, and it says that legends never die, they change to come back stronger. For all this was added official poster with protagonist from 4-part, where inscription says that legends never die. Think that the hint is clear. That happened 3 years ago, and after this, nothing. How much longer do we have to wait this return of this series of games from a loop that has lasted for 8 years? Unknown, and will be at all. And in this hard time of waiting, should be not bad to know how things with westerns on the phones are, and which game can rightfully be called best. We begin. Think that you agree with me if I say that the best genre for interpretation Western to video games are shooter or an action, because the style of the Western ideally fits in them, and fans of the cinema genre much more likely to play the games exactly in these genres. But no matter how logical it is, not so long ago in Google Play appear a whole bunch of games, farms with decoration of Wild West. What kind of nonsense is it? I can only explain this by the fact that earlier in the farms, style of Wild West just wasn't used. Anyway, we came here not for this. How I said earlier, Western games realized not many on mobile devices, so don't be surprised that with our today leader we'll compete such clumsy crafts, like Wild Western gunfighter cowboy gun shooting game. Lacks only the word 3D at the end. Otherwise, you might think that it's 2D game. The name is of course loud, like Russian child content on YouTube. And this is a certain quality indicator. Подарки для от одноклассников, распаковка игрушек, unboxing toys and birthday gifts, were according to the description from Google Play. Of course after automatic translation into Russian. So, just believe my words. You may think that the game has a real cowboy person playing. But in the real, there is an RPG in the game about Wild West. Understand, I can't rank the game as the best without giving an example of the games with this setting. Yeah, everything is cognized in comparison. Exactly. And then, we are having a really not bad game in the turn, Western Survival. But why do I think that this game is terrible? This could be understood by the name of the game. Precisely this word, survival. Yeah, this is another clone of the Last Day on Earth idea, and therefore it's a survival game, directly aimed at donating, which became too many. It differs from the progenitor, only that it has well-realized dialogues, although these are more monologues, because our main character can only think, but not speak. There is a story campaign and a bunch of quests. In others, it's Last Day on Earth, but only in the Wild West. Even the smallest details are presently stolen from there. In example, this card, which stands here on the player's base, for a place of pickup truck. Overall, this game isn't bad, but too far from the title of the best mobile western. And so, finally we can move to action games. And first from most popular western games is West Gunfighter Огонь Запада. Oh yeah, first thing that catches your eye after launching the game is the soapy graphics, and after a few seconds the same soapy sounds. For example, the sound of a horse galloping. I'm having two questions for it. In the first, why it begins before the running animation? And in second, does it sound like a gallop? Also, guess what the sound is it? It's probably the sound of a lasso? No, this is the sound of a shooting. But what about the gameplay? It's so boring. The game has a storyline, but with a little defect. Developers forgot to add a plot in it. Missions of main storyline aren't bound in any way. Quests are very commonplace. Their descriptions fit in 2 lines of texts. It's clear that only the statement of the requirement for the player from the mission fits in there. For example, quest, I will notice it goes according to the storyline. Try to find it here. Dear D. If you got some D skin in my pocket, I would love to pay a good price for them. The quest is that you just go and kill 3 deer. That's all. A typical fool so smart that in every moment can decide to do spots.
Вот так вот, вот так вот, вот так вот, вот так вот, вот так вот.
But most of all, he's afraid of approaching main character on the horse. From this, even the most core Jews will run away. Of the good, there is well-realized minigames, like darts, shooting range, cuts, and duels. But this is where its pluses end. As the result, this is dominating and boring game, where from the first sight you can see that it was done on the knee. So, West Gunfighter Огонь Запада don't worthy of your attention. And the last, very popular game about Wild West that is standing in front of today's leaders is Guns and Spurns 2. If the game honored its continuation in the form of the second part, then probably it was something. As you will see, this is not always the case. This time, after entering the game, we are greeted by the stylized graphics. It is cartoonish, which is no way connected with the theme of the western, but at least it's pleasant, so it's okay. The main goal for our protagonist is the catching of outlaws. Common need to be tied with a lasso and taken to prison. Bosses need to be winged in the duel. But the problem is that they are never walking alone. So according to the developer's assumption, in the first we need to defeat their entourage. But the shooting is the worst thing in the game. You either die but aim at the target, or run but don't hit the mark, because to aim you need to press this button, thereby leave the joystick without control. And you can't rotate the camera by the fire button. So the easiest way to pass the mission is like this.
Художественный фильм «Спили».
Actually, Guns and Spurns 2 isn't much better than the last game. It's just as boring. Facing the missions isn't interesting because they are too monotonous. For addition, my character has no one motive to work for the law, so it's better to just become a bandit yourself. By the way, even the search mechanics are implanted here, and the main thing that you probably already noticed is the desolation of the location. It for some reason is large, and all this space is filled by the lonely standing houses and cactuses. Very conspicuous lack of detail. The last straw to say that the game is awful are bad optimization and clumsy animations that I think you can evaluate by yourself. So I consider we have to move forward. And now, finally, we can move to the best westerns, of which there were as many as 2 pieces. The first is the Lawless. Although this game was realized in 2013, I learned about it relatively recently. At its core, this is a virtual shooting range, but very high quality. I have played in virtual shooting ranges from American lazy games, but this game is technically different from them. Here, shooting is realized by this way. In definite moment, time slows down, and while this effect is working, you have to mark all targets at you which must shoot, and if you do it in time, you will still alive. It looked like the race ability from Call of Juarez Bound in Blood, if that's more convenient for you. The game is really short. It consists of 5 story, well-set missions, accompanied by excellent voice acting.
Hey, one more bottle. Sure thing, asshole.
John Folsom. I said John Folsom!
Whoa, calm down, boy.
Completing the game takes about 15 minutes, if not less, so it doesn't have much weight. Nevertheless, it's one of the best westerns for mobile devices, but the main game still ahead. But before, I will ask you to do something that I have never asked before. Prove that someone else needs a video like this, longer than the 30 seconds. Just subscribe to my channel. By the way, I have only 30 subscribers. If you have watched this video to this moment, then you were probably interested, which means that you subscribe not for nothing, but for high quality and interesting for you content. And the best mobile western, of course, is Gameloft's 6 Guns. It was realized even earlier, in 2012, and since then no one has surprised it. This game is real spaghetti western. What? Why it named after pasta? I will explain everything now. Spaghetti western is subgenre of the western genre. In 60s, westerns were very popular. They became famous like a true American movie genre. Enterprising Italians in the field of cinema, especially of course Sergio Leone, decided that they should make their own westerns disguised as American. And they did it in their own way, which was very much liked by the public. They did a spaghetti western, which was different from the Hollywood original in a plot bias. It became more dramatic and rich. The film itself turned out to be more serious, and its characters are more charismatic and laconic, often just using aphorisms. The shootings became less realistic. Now they were directly guided by the plot. That's the whole secret of the accuracy of the main characters. For a classic American western, the motifs of goodness and hopes for a brighter future are not alien, while the Italian western is about the opposite. Its main characters aren't motivated by the desire for gold, but often simply by money. They are stuck in their past, on which their future depends. And this is the plot basis of 6 Guns. The story tells about Buck Crossow, who has problems with the law. He killed his wife. But Buck would never shoot an innocent person. He tried to forget this, but now the remaining memories haunt him. Buck wants to understand why he did it and why he tried to forget this. Despite the seeming simplicity of the story at the first, over time it becomes more and more complicated. Thanks to the appearing evidences, you seem to investigate the case, as if in some kind of detective. and later the story goes into mysticism. What's not new for the genre? Symbiosis of western and fantastic called Wild West. It mixes by mystic, fantasy and even science fiction, in the person's rule of steampunk. In the game it goes into various witches, nightwalkers, and even in separate branch of quests from Exorcist. From steampunk there are steam horses, and also the branch of quests from Professor Zedek, who claims that he is on the verge of opening a steam engine. As you have noticed, plot here is narrated with the help of these hand-drawn cutscenes, which undoubtedly look high quality, pompous and cool, which perfectly captured the spirit of spaghetti western. All this is accompanied by good voice acting.
To stop you from making the biggest mistake of your life. Your barman ain't who he says he is.
What the hell are you talking about?
And everything will be fine. But just take a look at this accent, this mission straight out of training, where you arrive to the Socorro town and meet local sheriff there. You have a dialogue.
Folks seen your wife wandering around at night, acting mysterious and strange-like.
Sheriff, my wife is dead. Died weeks ago.
And after a few seconds, when you deal with the bandits, you see this. What the hell was that? Where is the voice acting? The fact is the voice acting of the dialogues is present only in these cutscenes, and they accompany exclusively the storyline, is first. And second, I didn't think that the sheriff in real life is looking so scary.
Bruh.
Yeah, many players complain about the graphics in Six Guns, but as for me, they are quite good and enough to enjoy the game to their fullest. The location turned out to be quite large, so much so that the implementation of fast travel was required. The map is divided into Desert Arizona and Green Oregon. Six Guns took into account the shortcomings of subsequent mobile westerns. So, unlike Guns and Spawns 2, it is full of small details that bring the world around the player to life. Music. Here's a awesome soundtrack. I would say that it can compete with the music from the Elder Scrolls. Do you remember the song from the beginning of the video?
Me on this ball of mud, force me with a body, soul and blood. My steel is cold, cocked, loaded. I pull it out of my holster, comes the heat of my bullet.
So no, it's from Six Guns. Yeah, developers added a whole song to their game, and if you want to download it for free, go into the description of this video, where I, especially for you, created a link for downloading this song from Google Disk, because downloading it for free in the internet isn't so easy. It would seem that the game is amazing. Before, I mostly only praised it, but why is this game considered a failure? Why I consider it the same way, even though I don't want to admit it? The game has two big problems, and the first is its clumsy technical part. Now, just launching the game is one big test. It seems like it almost doesn't start on Android 10. I can't check it, because I have 9 version of Android, but they say that someone somehow did it. You can ask the English-speaking professionals of this game on the topic. In description of this video you can find 2 most popular YouTube channels which specializes on Six Guns. On my version of Android this is also a big problem. To start the game I have to restart my phone, otherwise it's almost no way. Also, Six Guns predictably likes to kick players out. Besides this, it has a lot of critical errors that make it impossible to complete the game. For example, completing the horse races in Oregon, I had an error in which my character could not move, and the game itself was very laggy. So I advise you not to complete this quest at all. If it happens with you, then you can fix it by reinstalling the game, but in this case, your progress will be lowered back in time. And yet, be more careful with the mission in which the main character gets drunk. There I also once caught a similar mistake. The second problem is the focus of the game on donation. Yes, finish it without donating is almost impossible, but I did it. Remember these two of useful bags. For Infinity using 8 kits, that is, in the fact, never losing the game at all. They should only be used in this menu that appears after death. And also, when you first start the game and on Friday, the prices in the game break and some guns become much cheaper. Necessarily use it, because prices are restored when you restart the game. So, why it's hard to pass the game without investing money? Look, each next story mission opens after reaching of 2 new account levels, and if it's the beginning, it isn't long and not stressful to fill the level. There is level 10 or 14, then no, that final mission opens at the 30th level. So that you understand how long it takes, I will tell you what I managed to buy in the game while I reached it. Hand Dragons for 400,000, Witch Empire for 180,000, Black Steam Horse for 50,000, Gunslinger Pants for 26,000, Gunner Jacket for 80,500, Gunner Head for 4,000, Gunslinger Boots for 20,000. In total, 680,500 coins. Try to reach it at least 50,000 and you will see how long it takes. Money and experience farm here at the monotonous missions, which there are a whole bunch. So, if you decide to play in Six Guns, then I highly recommend you to download its cracked version. Why didn't I do that? Because I simply couldn't install this APK file, and if you can also download only the official version of this game, then the online mod will be available to you. Surprisingly, there are still not so few players. The only problem is that there are only cheaters and donators. Bomb it's almost impossible to kill. Also, clans will be available to you. These are local clans, and I will be very grateful if you join to my clan. I will tell you even more. You can join only my clan, since everyone else is either closed or overcrowded with players. My game is only one in the whole game that is open and unoccupied by players. So, welcome. And yet, looking at this game, I can't call it great. It's just good. Once Game Lord really realized good games, donate independent and not even free to play. But, unfortunately, Six Guns of 2012 isn't a similar example. The prices for really good things in the game are too exorbitant, and anything that is cheaper is actually useless. And nevertheless, I would recommend this game for your phone. By the way, it was even ported to PC, but it hardly reaches the level of PC games. And yet, it really is the best well-deserved mobile western.